gold standard is something that is heavily in our workouts. It's programmed into our workouts on purpose. It's something that most of you have probably heard our trainer say with pretty high frequency. It's not in all of our workouts, but it is applicable in a lot of different ways. And I wanted to give some clarity and some transparency as the purpose of it, what it is, why it exists, and how you guys can use it to your benefit. Now, I want to lead with gold standard is not something that was meant to be added in to make people feel like they weren't doing good enough, that they were failing. It was honestly the opposite of that. I've always approached things, regardless of what it is, wanting to know what to aim for. So I wanted a beacon, kind of a ceiling approach, something that I can shoot for, whether I was ridiculously far off from it or not, was fairly irrelevant. I just wanted something to kind of place myself and kind of see where I need to progress, how much I need to progress, and what it takes maybe to get to whatever that gold standard is. So in this particular setting in Cor4, I put 6 examples of it down here. And keep in mind, these are all a little bit different. The weighted ones are the ball pickups, the sled push, the single dumbbell step ups, and the single arm dumbbell snatch are all weighted. And just to be clear, these are just a couple examples. There are many more examples of the gold standard being used. But those 4 specifically, if you did not know, the men's is based off of either competition or some type of elite athlete in competition training, and things that are meant to be the standard, typically off of competition. And I've also said, many times in class, most things in fitness are based off of competition standards, right? And that's where most of these weights come from. So I'm going to use a single dumbbell step up as an example here. As it's a 100-pound dumbbell, the movement is irrelevant. The female weight is always 70% of the male weight. So the male gold standard, you then take 70% of the male gold standard, and that's how you come up with the female gold standard. So I didn't make that up myself. That is used across many different competitions over time, and that's why it's, again, considered the gold standard. Now, how you apply that is ultimately up to you. And the main point of it is, if you are doing the single dumbbell step up and you're using a 30-pound dumbbell and you're a female, you now just know that you are 40 pounds away from what is considered to be the gold standard. That's not failure. It's not meant to make you feel bad about yourself. It's not meant to make you feel like you're not doing it appropriately. Like, everybody's got strengths and weaknesses, and you guys are meant to now use it as like, all right, I know exactly where I lie. I know maybe this is something I specifically need to work on. Maybe this is a gold standard that I'm furthest away from. And it's just meant to end up be another tool in your toolbox for you guys to work on, not just referencing, but progressing. And the more references you have, the more data you have, the easier it is, the more efficient it is to continue to progress. Now, the step-ups are technically bodyweight step-ups here, but you can use weights with it as well. This one's a little bit different as well because it's verticality. Verticality always comes first over the weight. And then eventually, once we learn to move through an appropriate range of motion, we then like to load up and get stronger in that range of motion. So the gold standard here being 20 and 24. Again, I didn't make that up. That's based off of competitions and many different outlets. And then the big one here is the calories biked in terms of, and the big one in terms of that's a lot different than the weighted stuff is the calories biked. And this can be changed out for any aerobic piece, whether it's the skier, bike, rower, calorie. I'm just using the bike here. They're all based off of calories or meters, and I always give ranges. And now that the range isn't gold standard, the range is just there to fit or accommodate all fitness levels, right? Under what I deem to be relatively acceptable for whatever it is we're doing. I just pick these numbers out. It could be a 2-minute EMOM, 5-minute EMOM. If it's a 1-minute EMOM, it's going to be lesser than. It could be a Metcon of some sort. Like that part's fairly irrelevant. But the first 12 to 16, of course, being females range, males range 16 to 20. And the big difference here is that on aerobic pieces, women or females are now 80% of men's gold standard. So if I believe that the highest number is the gold standard, which I always try to make that in these ranges. So anytime we're doing anything, the highest part of the range in my eyes is viewed as the gold standard. The women's is going to be 80% of that. And then I give, again, just to reiterate, these ranges to accommodate all fitness levels, right? So that's why you guys see these ranges, and that's how I figure out the top end of the ranges, which is I always go off of male first, and then I will use the 70 or 80% rule of thumb to come up with the female side. So if you didn't know that, I'm hoping this brings some level of clarity to you guys. Obviously, if you still have questions on this, let me know. Like I said, there is a lot more examples than just these 6. I think these are good examples of it, though. And I can't say it enough that the gold standard has nothing to do with whether or not you're doing well or you believe that you're failing. Like that was so far from the thought process. It was just to give you guys something to aim for and a reference point to where you stand relative to whatever exercise that we were doing, right? So anyways, hopefully this works in terms of giving some clarity. If you guys have questions, obviously just ask the trainers or myself. As always, I love talking about this stuff.